this work? You see, that's mooing cows right there. That's me. Okay, let me try this. Hey, what's up guys? Thank you again for clicking on this video today. I'm so excited for you guys to see what's on this week's episode. But first, I do want to give a trigger warning before the video starts today. We'll be talking about things that have to do with eating disorders, body dysmorphia, and kind of how all of that interlaces with mental health. So if any of that stuff bothers you, go ahead and click off the video now. But don't forget to like and subscribe down below. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Thank you guys again for joining me on today's video. I'm here with two very special guests. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Adrianna.
And I'm Savannah.
I've actually known them for, how long have I known them? Fuck.
You've known me since last year, about like what, October-ish last year?
Yeah,
a little more than
year.
that. Yeah, I'd say a little over a year.
Yeah, and you've known me since your, oh gosh, what, like sophomore year? It's like 2 years ago, yeah.
I'm sorry going by so quick.
I know.
We started all on a sport, and yet I'm not in it
running
anymore.
teams together.
Yeah,
Lord.
these T's and O's.
I said that 2 months was really inspirational. So considering we'll be talking about a lot of these heavy topics today, we'll be kind of covering different things from eating disorders to body image and like how it all kind of ties into mental health. And I know I have dealt with a lot of these similar like issues myself at a very young age. I don't know, what about you guys? Have you kind of dealt with this for a long time too?
I think it hit more definitely in college for me. I definitely became more aware of my issues once I left home from high school and like gained even more independence than what I had and was like more isolated by myself. Is when I started to finally like realize and notice that the things that I was having issues with wasn't normal and it wasn't what everybody else like goes through. It's like it's a disorder. It's like, you know, an illness. So I think it definitely hit me more like my freshman year of college.
Yeah, so I was in like Olympic weightlifting in high school, and so that was like definitely like a controlled, almost eating kind of deal there, considering like you had to lose weight like to get into a certain class, and like I definitely did it a few times where I lost like 3 pounds in a day. Probably not the healthiest thing I've ever done, but definitely like in college trying to like figure out like from freshman year to now, you know, like starting in the dorms, like never eating literally and like losing like 10 pounds on accident. Instead of gaining that freshman 15, I lost like 15 pounds. A little rough. But like now, like as I've transitioned from like a rower to a coxswain, like also trying to find that balance of like eating, but like not eating, if that makes sense. Like trying to find like a new behavior and a new routine instead of like considering it a diet.
It's nice that the three of us are all together because we're all separately going through different things. So like I have a problem with overeating. So my issue is I will eat until I am so full where I can't stop. That definitely didn't happen my freshman year though. I think my freshman year it just was just the mental illness really kicked in, and then the COVID happened a little bit during my freshman year towards the end.
Yeah.
So like that aspect of it, and just even more isolation, even more alone, and just the aspect of being bored and just being like, I think I'm hungry, I guess I'm hungry, there's a full plate and I have to finish all of it. And that definitely came from like my childhood and the people I grew up with the aspect of like everything you see you have to eat it all. And it was definitely just like the overeating and more stuff like that, but we'll probably get more into that later. Don't want to get too into it and sidetracked, but yeah.
So going off of that, are you ready to get into some of the questions we have / topics?
Yeah, let's
Yes,
do it.
ma'am.
So this first one is an anonymous question, and the title of it is, does anyone else see just how fine the line is between disordered eating and dieting? So how do you guys kind of feel about that? I definitely agree with what he's saying though, or she, because I feel like the reason I even got into like getting an eating disorder was the whole fact of like I was trying to diet and get into diet culture, and then it like transitions into each other.
I'm just pulling it up right now so I can see, because I'm definitely like a visual person, like I have to see the words, kind of. It's definitely a good point. I think it is a question that a lot of people wonder. You know, like, what is the difference between dieting and like a disorder? Like, I think it just all comes to the point of, is it healthy? Is dieting okay? I guess like dieting's okay only if it's healthy, but what does that mean to be healthy? You know, like how far is too far with the dieting until it becomes a disorder? So for example, like one of the problems I struggled with this year is I had a family member who counts calories, and he does it to a very excessive length. So much to where it felt as though they were pressuring me to count the calories with them, and you know, this is gonna help you lose weight fast, this is gonna help you lose weight and be better, and you have to eat this many calories a day and track everything you eat. So for a while, like, I had the mentality of like, if I didn't reach a certain amount of calories, that I wasn't going to lose weight, or it's like I failed and something like that. So it's like, it's dieting, yes, like counting the calories, it's dieting, but is it a healthy dieting? And to me, like those kind of things, it's hard because it's like, can you do it in a healthy way? It's a hard question to answer, because I think overall it depends on like the person's perspective and like what they think. You know what I mean? So I can sit here all day and tell you what I think is healthy and not healthy, but it could be different with an Olympic weightlifter or a rower or a normal person like walking on the street. So it's definitely hard to have like a distinct definition of like, this is right and this is wrong, when everybody has a different mindset of what is right and what is wrong, especially when it comes to their body. Like, nobody knows anybody better than their like your own body. Like, I know myself better than you know me, and so on. So it's definitely like what I kind of think of it.
Again, that's your experience and how you've dealt with that like sort of question, or even how you've experienced it. And like how I was saying, diet culture to me is like, I just hate that word in general. I just wish it would go away, because I feel like, I'm sure people out there can relate too, like anytime you like hear the word diet, you automatically think like restrict, or it has to be like, it comes into the whole like, I have to look a certain way, I have to do this amount of things to get to this look. It's never about like, diet's about, oh, I want to get healthy, or this is, no one ever uses my healthy diet and just kind of like, oh yeah, like me too. It's always about like, this is my diet, and then they're like, I eat this amount of calories in a day, or I like do this sort of thing. And so I feel like, what?
Or it's like, to even mention like the one part when somebody says like, oh, well, I eat, this is my snack. Well, this is my snack, but this is what I actually eat. Like, that's so different, because everybody's body and, like, metabolism is different. So where one may eat a sandwich for a snack, they may be, like, that might be somebody's dinner. Like, it's, like, that's why it's weird to be, like, well, that's an eating disorder, and that's not. Well, it's just, like, the body itself is different. Like, maybe they have, like, you know, like, maybe they just, like, that's just how they are. Like, you know, like, it's just weird to be like, to have just one solid answer, like it doesn't seem reasonable or like really reachable.
Okay, so the thing with like this question is that it says like disordered eating and dieting, but there's also like eating disorder, disordered eating, and diet is like what you eat. Like there is no such thing as like a diet is like what you eat. Like you can't say I'm dieting, because that means that you're just eating, you know? Like that's like a whole big misconception thing, like in like the like common culture today compared to like actual like nutritional like society. And like, I mean, you can literally eat normal, but say you're fasting, like you do like a whole like fast kind of thing, so you like fast for 12 hours, eat for 4 kind of thing, like all those weird things that people do. Technically that's just disordered eating. It's not an eating disorder, because an eating disorder usually has something to do with like, there's also a mental like imbalance, like there's like something going on in your brain as well, and like you either want to like reach a certain weight, or like body dysmorphia, where like some people would see that as you don't see like your body how other people sees you, but like body dysmorphia is like wanting bigger muscles, technically is like the technical term for it. So it's like, I don't know, I just feel like a lot of stuff in our culture, like now, doesn't represent like a bunch of stuff clearly, if that makes any sense. Because like, yes, there is a line between like disordered eating and an eating disorder, but there's not a line technically between disordered eating and dieting. Because like a diet is like what you eat, and if you're changing how you eat, you're then changing your behavior, and that's what then contributes to either an eating disorder or disordered eating. So it's just like there's a whole bunch of stuff going on that like people in like diet culture, they don't like talk about. So it's just like one size fits all. That's like why like Weight Watchers and all of like Jenny Craig and all that stuff, like you see like a big recurrence of people coming back, which then is a whole nother thing, because then weight cycling leads to people dying earlier because it puts so much stress on your body going up and down. That's a whole nother thing.
I was gonna say, if you guys want a full episode on the scientific versions of eating, get Adrianna.
We got the woman for you right now.
Alright, you guys ready for the next question?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. Alright, this one's a little bit more dramatic, but
Ooh, spicy.
Why is it spicy?
okay, so this one says, I may sound over dramatic, but why can't I control my eating habits? I seem to have zero control, and every time I get control of it, it doesn't seem to last long. I'm in this cycle for many years now of overeating and dieting, and it's getting very depressing.
Yeah, so like with that, like, so like I personally go to a nutritionist, and she actually, like, I also have the same problem where like I feel like when I eat, like I just eat everything, you know, like I just am like, I need it, like, but it's really just my, like our bodies, like being like, okay, we didn't get food all day, and now we're having this chance and this like to eat, you know. And so we're like, okay, well, we don't know when the next time we're gonna eat is, so like let's just keep eating. And if we're eating really fast, like our body doesn't like tell us like our satiety level is just like up there and like ready for us to be done. Like our fullness, like we don't feel it until like way after, when we're feeling super sick. And then like we're also like, we feel guilt as well, because like I know for me personally, like I really crave like sweet stuff, like my Powerade Freezies, like after I eat, and sometimes I'm like guilty about eating that, you know. But it's like, well, why am I feeling guilty, you know? It's just because like diet culture has just like put in us that like you really shouldn't be eating sweets, like you should only have like your dinner meal and that's it, you know, like you shouldn't be having stuff after. It's just like I feel like it's a lot more like guilt and a lot of like diet culture coming into like our heads. And like, if you want a sweet, eat the sweet. Like,
Eat the damn sweet.
Period. Honor your cravings.
Yes.
That's interesting you say that though, because like I'm someone who's on the opposite side of like, if I start to think about like what I'm eating, or like even intuitive eating has been oddly like kind of triggering for me, dealing with it, because I get like very hyper focused when I really get into it, and it's like it's so down to the wire where I'm like, I even triple check calories just or because I'm like, oh, like what is this, what is my calculations correct? So like even if I think about like honoring my hunger cues or setting a diet plan or anything like that, you know, like that's hard.
So with my spin on this one, it's interesting because like I mentioned before, I definitely have a huge, like I feel like I have a problem with overeating. You know, like when you go to grandma's house and like grandma kind of gives you that big plate, like as a kid, and it was like you can't leave the table until it's all gone. That was me for like the first like 7-8+ years of my life, living with like my grandparents and so on. So I never noticed how much that transitioned into like how I actually act until I got to college, when I was in charge of getting the groceries. I had to buy my own groceries. I had to make my own food and stuff like that. And it would bother me when I would make a, I mean, you guys see it now too when we eat together, when I make a full box of pasta and I cook it and I make it and everything, and I eat half of it and the half is still there. There's just something in me that is just like, I have to finish this. Like, I have to finish the rest of the food here, and that causes me to overeat and overeat and overeat and overeat. And, like, I won't stop until my plate is clean or until I am just so full to where I feel sick. And kind of like what Adrianna said, I definitely am a sad victim of the sweet tooth as well. Like, I crave chocolate. Like, it's bad. Like, I can be, like, sitting at work one day and it's like, God, I never really eat cookies, and I could be like, I just want these Oreos so bad, like, out of nowhere. Like, it's just, I mean,
cosmic brownies.
we're big cosmic brownies. But I think at the end of the day, what's, like, really helped me and what I've noticed about myself is that I, kind of like what you said, I skip meals, but at the same time I eat bigger portions. So what happens is, like, before, you know, like, when I started to, like, become more aware of what's happening and, like, okay, what I'm doing is, like, this is a problem because I'm seeing it affect my body, you know. It's like I'm gaining the weight, I'm you know, like, I'm not performing as well at practice, and it was because I don't eat breakfast. I am just not a breakfast person.
I can't do it either.
I don't mind breakfast foods, but I just don't like eating breakfast, so I would go all day without eating until, like, noon, 1 p.m., and then I would eat, like, a pretty big meal, because, you know, I didn't eat the entire morning, I won't eat until I feel that hunger, and then I eat and eat and eat and eat and eat until I'm so full. And then I go work out, burn whatever calories I burn, and then I go home and same thing, meal made, I have to eat the whole thing. And I tell myself it's okay to do that because I just worked out. Well, I just burned 2,000 calories. It's okay if I eat these 2,000 plus calories because I was told that it's always okay. So I had to learn to, like, step on the brake a little bit. And whether it's, you know, you see me now, like, whether it's just eating an applesauce in the morning or, like, a Belvita cracker, it's just all about portion sizes. So whether with that issue of the overeating, like, going and going and going, I think of this person, don't try to just, like, I don't know if it's, like, it's not a diet, but I think portion control is a huge thing. So whether it's making your meals not relatively smaller, but, like, making it quote-unquote normal-sized meals, and then just snacking throughout the day.
I agree. Yeah. Well, thank you guys again for coming to chat with me. This was very insightful. If you guys like this, please like and subscribe to the channel.
It's down there.
Subscribe.
Yeah.
Right down there.
And I will see you guys soon. Bye.
For making you want to roam. Now my heart is beating like the sound of the
Gary, I'm sorry.